Well, good evening, everyone. Happy Good Friday to everyone that is joining us here on our Facebook Live. We want to say thank you for joining us. Tonight, we're going to be talking about COVID-19, its impact on Northeast Tennessee, as well as we have a few special guests. Of course, I'm your friendly state representative, Timothy Hill. I serve the 3rd House District, which is part of Sullivan, part of Carter, and all of Johnson counties. And so tonight, what we wanted to do was we wanted to invite you in and welcome you into the conversation as we talk tonight. We have two very special guests. For the first part of our conversation, we're going to have Commissioner of Labor and Workforce Development, Jeff McCord. He's going to be joining us talking about what's going on with the unemployment situation and labor situation in the state of Tennessee, especially in response to COVID-19 and what their work that they're doing. He's going to give a little bit of an introduction, but also I'm going to be asking questions, but you're welcome to ask questions in the comment section. And I've got Facebook pulled up over here. And so if you want to ask questions, you're more than welcome to do so. And I'll relay those questions to the commissioner as we have opportunity. And then as soon as we get done with our conversation with him, we have Hugh Ferguson, who I'm going to dial up, and he's going to be talking about the SBA loans and options, the Paycheck Protection Program, different things that are available for small business owners through the CARE Act that passed the U.S. House and the Senate about a week ago, I guess it was now. So welcome in. We're glad that you're here. We're glad that you're a part of this discussion. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and we're going to go straight to the phone. And Commissioner, are you there with us?
I'm here with us. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, Commissioner, thank you so much for joining us. We kind of have a little bit of a different type of town hall setting going on because we decided we wanted to do a Facebook Live. And so, but we wanted to bring in the real experts, and there's nobody that knows more about the labor situation than our good commissioner. And of course, Northeast Tennessee is so very, very proud of you in your current role. But Commissioner Jeff McCord, Commissioner, tell us a little bit about what this week has looked like from your perspective with unemployment claims and what your department's been doing.
Certainly, and thank you for having me. It's really, really good to talk to somebody from back home because I haven't been able to get back home for a while. So I think the magnitude of the situation you can talk about like this. We typically over a 3 week period would have around 10,000 unemployment first-time unemployment insurance claims, and this past 3 weeks we've had 250,000.
Wow.
And so that has put, as you would imagine, quite the stress and strain on both our systems and our people. And so we have upped the ability. So 3 weeks ago, we had 20 people answering phone calls on unemployment. Now we have 200 plus, and we'll add another 100 on Monday. Upgraded the system so we can take those claims, and we're going to upgrade it again soon. I think the summary of all that is we've made progress, but we still have a lot of progress to make.
What
as far as go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, from your perspective, I don't think anybody could have possibly planned for the volume that your department is having to undertake, and so we're going to get into the nuts and bolts, and we have you for a few minutes, and I'm very grateful for your time, but. When you look at just the sheer volume, you have, and I've heard a couple of your interviews that you've given and updates that you've given. Talk about the redirection of existing resources and redirection of existing employees into trying to meet the need from across the state.
Sure, and thanks for that. So we had two issues. We had the issue of having to limit public access to the American Job Centers, and then we had because of the COVID-19 the virus, and because of the public health implications, and then we had the issue of the influx of unemployment insurance claims, and so we just worked to turn that disadvantage into an advantage, and we redirected the work of our state employees in those centers towards unemployment. And so, for example, now when you call, you could be in Mountain City, but you may reach somebody who was working in an AJC in Memphis to answer your call and help you with unemployment insurance. And so we redirected the majority of our state employees to that effort for now. Hopefully we'll come out of that and we can draw down a little bit. But we have, for example, the folks who would do labor standards inspections that they can't do now. For example, they're on the phones helping to reset passwords. And so we've redirected our whole department in that effort to do that work. I just want to emphasize, too, Chairman, that it's still not enough. So again, next week we're engaging another group to help us with even more people because we need to be able to serve. This is unexpected, and it's nobody's fault, but it is our problem, and so we're working hard to address the problem and continue to serve at the level we need to serve.
Do you feel like in a projection standpoint that the department or the claims are at a peak, or do you have an understanding, because do you really know available workforce and what may come into your system of unemployment, or is there a way to project that?
And so our claims the 2 weeks ago were 39,000. Then we went to 90 some odd thousand. And this past week we went to over 100,000. So the rate is slowing, and we'll know better when we look at the numbers at the end of this week whether we've reached a peak. The sooner this storm can pass, the better for everybody. And so we continue to monitor that. But it would be irresponsible, really, for me to say I know at this point. It will help to get the numbers this week and to see if we can come down from that 100 and some odd thousand that we had this previous week.
So a couple of questions, and if you're watching on Facebook Live right now, of course, Commissioner Jeff McCord is joining us. live from parts unknown. I don't know that we could say if he's in Nashville or not, or if he's traveling the state. We don't even need to know. We just know that he's with us right now, and so we're grateful for that. But Commissioner McCord, if you have questions of him, I've got Facebook pulled up right here. Go ahead and put it in the comment section. We've got him for a few minutes. Some of the questions that I consistently encounter as a representative, and there to file going on jobs4tn.gov, that's a fairly common thing. What happens for individuals when they get kicked out? And so I've had a couple of folks call me, and quite a few folks actually. They'll call me and they'll say, well, I got 3/4 of the way and I was filing and I got kicked out. What do I do? What's the answer for that?
So the answer is we're sorry that happened. It's because of the volume. We've made improvements to the system, and there's more improvements coming. I think you'll find it significantly better today than you did on Monday, and you'll find it significantly better next week than you did today. So first of all, secondly, to go back in, and your best response time is going to be off hours. And when you go off hours, it's going to be a lot more responsive. But for today, for example, we never had more than 500 people on at one time, is what our IT folks say, and the site worked really, really well the whole day, and it has been with the tuning and the upgrades we've just done. This Sunday, when people recertify, if you're a new claimant and you want to file a claim, it's just, quite frankly, better to stay off on Sunday, because that's when a lot of people recertify. We had 150,000 people recertify last Sunday, and there'll probably be more than that this Sunday. And so if you get kicked out and you're not sure that it's completed, go back in and make sure that it is, and hopefully it will be better than the first time. And if not, if it's slow for you, try on off hours is the best advice I can give you for now. There's help coming within days. This problem should abate, and we should have the upgrades that we need to make sure that we're serving the way that we would prefer to serve. So,
talk us through very quickly through the recertification process. They made application, they made it through the application process. They're still required, even in this era of COVID-19, massive amounts of volume. Those individuals are still required to go and recertify each week. Is that correct?
It is correct. It's a really important part of the process. What happens, the recertification process, is that you're recertifying that you still are in need of unemployment benefits. And if your situation has changed, so each week you do need to recertify, but I need to emphasize this, you do not need to recertify on Sunday. You can recertify any day of the week, and if you are recertifying on Monday or Tuesday is just as good as Sunday, and it's probably going to be a lot easier for you until we implement the upgrades that we're in the process of doing.
Commissioner, talk us through if an individual in this era is a 1099 employee, how are they affected? What are their options? Do they have options?
Yes, sir. So let me walk through the federal stimulus package that just came down. So traditionally, unemployment insurance is just like your car insurance or your house insurance. Your employer, if you're a W-2 employee, typically will pay into that insurance and insure your wages. And so if you were to lose your job through no fault of your own, you apply for that insurance just like you would if a tree fell through your house. And you would check eligibility and you're covered. 1099 employees don't have that. They don't pay into that insurance. And so they are not typically insured, just like you wouldn't be insured if you didn't insure your house. What has happened with the CARES Act is there's been an expansion of that insurance to cover those employees, And I need to emphasize this too, that those employees would include people who, for example, worked in a church. Tennessee's interpretation of the act is that those people would be covered too. Any kind of religious organization would be covered as well, because they typically don't pay into that insurance either. And so the insurance has been extended. It's something called the Pandemic Unemployed Assistance, and we are in the process of implementing that. It's a completely different system. So for now, if you go and you apply through the typical system, we will hold your application and you don't need to do anything else. And then after we implement the 1099 or the PUA piece of that, we'll apply those rules to yours, and we'll reach out to you and maybe ask for a little bit more information and get you going if you're eligible. So there's really, I guess the easiest way for me to say it is there's three things new that have happened. One is if you are a current W-2 employee and apply for unemployment insurance, if you get $1, you will get an extra $600 from the federal government. Mm-hmm. And we will implement that in the very near future. And shortly after that, we'll implement the piece for the 1099 people. And then shortly after that, we'll implement the extension of benefits provisions that the federal government has given. I know people are waiting, and we feel the weight of that weight at the department. We just got the guidance of the rules to do that on Monday. And so we're working very hard to implement all those pieces as we go forward.
So I guess I hesitate to say the $1 billion question, but the big question is, when you say in a period of time working toward, if I understood you correctly, the $600 piece comes first, and then the PUA or the 1099 guys come next. And so the dominoes start to fall. So is it a tough question to figure out when that's going to be? Because that's the question that individuals are going to have, or is it just a preaching of patience? And as soon as what are we waiting on from a government standpoint to be able to take the $600 piece, for example?
So for the $600 piece, we're talking days, not weeks.
Okay.
And I think that's the best way to say it. And we know, and it's tough to preach patience, or tough to hear somebody preaching patience when you're worried and when you are in just a tough spot. And we hear that every day. So we're talking days, not weeks. We will be among the first that implement that. Currently on the 1099 piece or the PUA, we don't know of a state who's been able to, who has successfully implemented that yet, just because it's a completely different system. But we're not talking weeks away. We're talking days, and as you can imagine, our folks are anxious to get that implemented, because we know that the folks that we are here to serve, are waiting for us to do that.
So, Commissioner, I know our time with you is short, and again, we are with Commissioner Jeff McCord. We really appreciate your time. I know you've been very, very busy running the department, trying to expand to meet the need that folks have. If with just our few quick moments that we have left, if you had to tell Tennesseans that one thing coming out of your department, I don't want to leave any question out, but I want you to be able to get your message across. What would you want them to know? What do you want to tell them so they know that they're covered? But what's your perspective that you would want to share with them?
So a couple of things, and thank you for that question. If you're not sure, if you've lost wages and you're not sure whether you qualify, apply. Apply, and we will do our best to both, we say, pay you and get the benefits to you as quickly as legally possible. What I would really like to say, though, is once again, the department feels the weight of this and the sense of urgency of this. And it's always not, it's always to talk about we're working tirelessly and that sort of thing. In this case, it's really true. We want those benefits to start flowing as fast as we possibly can, and we're working to do that so that we can help people. And I'll have to tell you, since I've been here just over a year, the purpose and the passion that the folks in state government have to make that happen is as high as I've ever run across. So we're going to get there, and we're going to get there soon. And once again, we've made progress, but we know we still have progress to make. And so hang in there with us just for a little bit longer.
Commissioner Jeff McCord, I want to say thank you very much for joining us kind of in this impromptu Facebook Live, also the forum that we have. We've had quite a few folks join in and tune in, if you will. And so thank you. Kind of a little bit unorthodox. We got to keep our social distance, but we got some very, very good and much needed information out. And so thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me. I truly appreciate it, and I hope I can see you in person soon.
I'm looking forward to it. All right.
See you later.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay. All right. Don't go anywhere just yet. Right now, of course, I have to dial this. All right. So we're going to now, and Commissioner McCord from Department of Labor and Workforce Development with kind of the latest and greatest, and also some very, very important information that you need to have. And you may say, well, my job's okay, or, you know, I'm quarantined at home, or I'm at home, or I'm staying home. I'm okay right now. Well, maybe you have a family member that's not. And so feel free to pass that information along. Also, too, and I think that the graphics there, my direct cell phone number is 423-646-1589. We want to be helpful any way that we can, and especially in these very difficult times. So right now, if I can make this technology work, I'm going to hit this button right here. We're going to dial in. Let's see if I can. Okay. All right. Hang on. Bear with me just for a second. All right. Let's see if that worked.
Please enjoy this Verizon ringback tone.
Oh, it's a Verizon ringback tone.
Hello, this is Hugh.
Hello, Hugh Ferguson. How are you?
I'm great.
There's no prank.
Phil, how are you?
There's no prank call to this part of it. Hugh Ferguson is he works. Tell us a little bit about yourself real quickly, because I want folks to know why I've got you on our COVID-19 and its impact on Northeast Tennessee and what you can do. A little update in Facebook Live town hall we got going on. So tell us real quickly a little bit about yourself, Hugh.
Sure, be glad to. I'm the Senior Vice President, Regional Manager for First Bank and Trust Company. I'm located here in Johnson City, Tennessee. And just for those that may not be familiar with our bank, we're headquartered in Abingdon. We do have 4 of our offices in Tennessee. We have one on the Tennessee side of Bristol, one in Johnson City, one in Gray, and one in Kingsport. So been in banking about 35 years, and I've been here in Johnson City for the last 4 years and have loved being in East Tennessee.
Well, Hugh, I really appreciate your time in joining in with us. For those of you who may be just joining us, we have been doing a Facebook Live town hall informational session. The first half of this discussion that we've had dealt with unemployment and ways to apply, as well as the system overall. And we actually were very fortunate to be joined by Commissioner Jeff McCord. I wanted to do that part, but as I serve as chair of the House Commerce Committee, you know, it's our job to deal with policy associated with business, utilities, banking, and financial institutions. And so, obviously, we're very interested in what's happening with the small business owner and with our employees, our friends, our neighbors. There has been a lot that has come down the pipe specifically for the small business owner and for employees. And I think the biggest items that we know about, you know, there's some Small Business Administration loans that are of size, but the Paycheck Protection Program is the one that's really seems to be turning heads. And Hugh, would you tell us just a little bit about it, and then tell us what people need to do, what business owners need to do to participate in it?
Okay, sure, I'd be glad to. And as you mentioned, that is the program a lot of people are going to. And we started taking applications last Friday when it first opened up, and have just been swamped and doing everything that we can to help out small business owners. And basically, when you're talking about small business, you're talking about the definition is 500 employees and less, and certainly that covers most of the businesses we have in this area. And it includes sole proprietors, independent contractors, of course, corporations, LLCs, all type of businesses, and it's for those that have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So the use of the proceeds are basically to support payroll, and the calculation and what you can borrow is based on your payroll, your average payroll for the last year, and you take that average for a month, divide it by 12 for a month average, and you multiply that by 2.5. And that's kind of the simple calculation on what you're eligible for. And payroll does include not just the dollars and salaries, but it includes vacation benefits, health insurance, and other things. So you multiply that by 2.5, and that loan is capped at $10 million. The other thing that you want to keep in mind when you're looking at salaries, you can only include a salary up to $100,000. So the loan is we're doing it with a 2-year maturity. The interest rate is only 1%, and the payments are deferred for 6 months. Now, the beauty of this program is hopefully most or all of that will be forgiven, and that forgiveness will be applied for after 8 weeks. And there are certain criteria in order to get that loan forgiven. One thing is you have to have used at least 75% on payroll costs. You can use the other 25% for things such as rent and utilities and mortgage interest. The other thing that they'll be looking at are your the number of employees and your payroll. That if you've laid people off, you use this to bring them back. So that's kind of the I guess the meat and potatoes of the program. And a lot of people are applying. I would like to share that our bank, we're about $2 billion in assets. Thus far, we've gotten over 1,100 of these approved with the SBA. That totals about $167 million, and thus far we've funded about $45 million of that.
Wow. So if an individual, because to say that our small businesses are hurting is an understatement. And in
Yes.
fact, anything that's tourism based is crushed right now. Anything that's entertainment based is crushed right now. Our local eateries are crushed. There's if you can tell that the market is trying to readjust as much as it possibly can with the curbside pickup and the contactless delivery and all these things. Those are indicators that these restaurants are trying to adjust as much as they possibly can, but not everybody's able to. And so with the Paycheck Protection Program, which is SBA backed, but you have to go to a financial institution, you have to go to a bank, and some credit unions are doing it to apply, to go ahead and get the nuts and bolts down, to get your math right. That can be done, but to be clear, at the 2.5 times, that's payroll, that's rent, utilities. if you do it right, in effect, it becomes a grant. It is not a loan, but it is a grant. That's correct?
That is correct.
And so that's, first of all, let me say from a commerce standpoint, from a business standpoint, from a small business owner standpoint, of which I am all of those things, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. Tell me, and this is a question, what is a scenario, and let me say this to our viewers that are watching on Facebook right now. If you have a question for Hugh, just go ahead and pop it in the comments. We'll try to get it to him before our time runs out, although we won't be doing Facebook Live forever, so now's your time. And if for some reason you have a question, you can send me a private message, or you can text me directly, and we'll try to get that answered as quickly as we possibly can. But what scenario, Hugh, on the Triple P? What scenario is somebody getting denied, or is it somebody that comes in and they just don't have their math right, or is everybody just coming in? Here's my application, and it's just, hey, the SBA is backing this, and so off we go.
Yeah, I think as long as they meet the criteria, the SBA they are accepting these. Basically, as we put the application into the SBA system, we get immediately a loan number back saying they've accepted it. So we're trying to do our due diligence on the front end. We're relying on that borrower to be providing us information on that historical payroll, and they're providing us 941s and W-3s and that sort of thing. So we are looking at that information and then looking at the amount that they've come up with for their average monthly payroll, and making sure that that is in line, because we don't want them to be asking for something that won't be forgiven or whatever. But
Sure.
They're on the applications, they certify that they have been negatively impacted by this pandemic. So as long as those things are in line, the SBA is accepting those. And of course, our concern now is running out of money. And as you all probably know, they started out at $340 billion, and I know that they're looking at adding to that, and hopefully they can.
I think that the last number that I saw was an addition of $250 billion. Somehow it's being stoved up by the majority party in the House, and so we're disappointed to see that, and hope that they don't try to light it up like a Christmas tree, which seems to be what they do, and holding not just small businesses. That's the key. It's not just small businesses, but it's business owners, it's families, it's people, it's friends, it's neighbors, holding them hostage from being able to get the help that they need, not to make their business, right, but to get from point A to point B, to try to get through whatever this period in time that we're in during this virus. Okay, so we've covered the Paycheck Protection Program, and folks can find out more by visiting you or another financial institution, or by visiting SBA.gov to kind of get the lowdown on what they need to look at. What other things are available if you're a small business owner and you say, okay, I've already done the Triple P. What else? What other items or what other things are out there that they may be able to contact you about, or go to SBA.gov that seem to be popular right now?
Well, of course, with our customers, a lot of customers are looking at payment deferrals on existing loans, which we're more than happy to try to help out, where we defer principal or something like that. So we're very open to modify loans to help them out to get through this. The other SBA program that is out there is a program actually that's been out there for a long time, and that's the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program. And typically it's used where you have a tornado or hurricane or something like that in those specific areas. Of course, with this, the government has determined our entire country is eligible for that. That is, again, a direct loan with SBA. It's up to $2 million, and there's a first 10,000 a front when you do that application. I understand that if you're not accepted, you do not have to pay that back. But otherwise, that loan, that is a true loan that's I think the rate on it is 3.75 for a profit company and 2.75 for a nonprofit, and that can be paid up to 30-year term.
Let's go.
And those funds can be used for other things other than in payroll.
So let's go back to the Paycheck Protection Program. If you're a nonprofit, do you have the ability to apply for that program, given the fact that it's potentially more on the grant side than it is on the loan side? Can a nonprofit apply for that? Is that for, or is it only for for-profit entities to go for?
Good question. I should have mentioned that earlier. Yes, nonprofits can apply for that, and faith-based organizations. We've had a number of churches that are negatively impacted, local nonprofits we're working with. So those people are hurting as well, and they can go through this Paycheck Protection Program.
Well, Hugh, I really appreciate your time. If you had something that you wanted to share with people that have been negatively impacted, primarily small business owners, because that's kind of the reason we had you come on. What would you say to them as they're trying to seek out funds, but as they're trying to just figure out what to do next? What's your advice? What's your perspective?
Well, if hopefully a lot of banks are on this program now. A lot of banks were not SBA lenders, and we were, fortunately, and that's how we got in on the front end. Some of the banks that were not SBA lenders have been able to sign up during the course of this week. And so if you first got to know from your bank, you may want to try back to see if they're on the program now. I wish I could tell anyone out there. I mean, we would love to have them. We have prioritized our customers, and we're trying to get them through. However, we've done a lot of these loans. We have liquidity. We're going to continue to do them. So we would be more than happy to talk to someone and see if we can help them. But it's a good program. The other thing I would say is, I know every bank that is doing these are just swamped, and we wish we could get them through quicker and get them funded. Of course, the key is getting that number from the SBA, because that way we know that money is set aside for them. And so the next step that we're doing is closing those loans and getting that money to that small business person. And as I said, we've been successful so far of getting about $45 million out the door, and I know the other banks are working as hard. And so just try to be patient, and I know that's hard. But we are trying to get it out there.
All right, Hugh Ferguson with First Bank and Trust. Thank you so much for joining us here on our Facebook live town hall on COVID-19 and the update. So thanks for joining us. And
thank you for having me. I certainly appreciate being here, and appreciate being able to tell our story.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, all right. I'm going to close out our town hall. I want to say thanks to everybody that stuck with us through the entire thing. Of course, it'll be uploaded to Facebook, so still keep sharing it with your friends. The information that we shared, those questions as your friendly state representative, I've been getting time and time again, and I'm happy to answer them as best as that I can and that I know how. In fact, I've learned a few things this evening as well. But we want there to be good information out there so folks can make the best decisions that they can. Thank you for the opportunity to serve you. If I can be of help, whether you're in my district or not, if I can be of help, feel free to call me on my cell, 423-646-1589, or you can text me. Sometimes text is a little bit easier, a little bit quicker, just because, as you can imagine, it's quite the whirlwind right now. But I have enjoyed my time in the Tennessee House, probably more than I could admit. I would care to admit it's been a tremendous honor, to say the least. And I know my wife, Charity, is watching right now, and our son Hudson may or may not be watching. He's my 4-year-old. And for those of you who follow my Facebook pages, whether it's the personal page or the bigger page. We posted a photo of Winston Church Hill, my bulldog, my English bulldog, earlier today. So you gotta go check him out. But all I can say is thank you very much for joining in with us. We'll probably end it right there. But if you have questions of me, feel free to reach out at any point, and I'll reach right back out, and we'll work together and find you the best solution that we can. So I hope you guys have a great evening. Happy Good Friday, and happy Easter here in just a few days. Thanks so much.